Well, hello there. It's Denise Taylor here, a brand new voice for you here on the Women in Podcasting podcast. I am so excited. This is a special episode, and I hope that you will listen because I think you'll be inspired by the time we get done.
Welcome to the Women in Podcasting Show. Enjoy inspiring stories, interesting interviews, and powerful strategies from women around the world. Jennifer Hensel spotlights today's top podcasters, new podcasters, and expert guests. Get tips for leveling up your life, gaining visibility, growing your business, monetizing your podcast, and so much more. We invite you to support women in finding their voice and sharing their passion. It's all about women empowering women.
I am so grateful to Jennifer and the Women in Podcasting team for opening up this virtual stage for me to share inspiration and encourage you in your podcast journey. Now, in addition to me coming here to energize you to hang in there with it and keep your voice lifted, I will also open up the door to help you get insight to other podcasters like me. You see, I think Jennifer partnering to bring women of color to this virtual stage is amazing. And I have to say, I am honored to be a part of that effort. Now, I am going to spend today's show not only inspiring you, but giving you a glimpse into who I am. A brief introduction of me would go this way. I speak, I write, I build, and I mentor. I host two phenomenal podcasts myself. And of course, I invite you to check them out. Now, as a mission, I help women build a life that they love. And for me, there are two things that must happen in order for you to do just that. The first is you must believe in who you are. And the second is you must believe in what you can do. And I have podcast platforms that are intentionally driven to energize both halves of that perspective. My first podcast is I'm the Good Thing. And I just recently launched that in a new format for myself. It's 5-minute episodes that release 3 times a week. They are intended to be nuggets that help energize you with life wisdom. There's a new episode on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to really encourage you in your journey. Now, my second podcast is Embrace Your Power, and that is where we go deeper on understanding what we can achieve and do. And I bring people in to talk about their journey and experiences of overcoming. I believe those testimonies will always encourage us as much as it does inspire us to go for what we want. I believe that we can embrace our power. And when we do, we can be, do, have, and achieve whatever it is we want. So when you talk about what is my mission, I am here to encourage you to build a life that you love. Now, before we get into my story, I want to talk about some incredible resources that Jennifer and her team have made available. Now, this is one that I've found to be particularly valuable. And so if you haven't yet taken the opportunity to take this mini training on your podcaster elevator pitch, you want to do that. When it's time for you to introduce yourself and introduce your platform, you want to have that down to a science. So visit the Women in Podcasting website, which is womeninpodcasting.net, and look for elevator pitches for podcasters. This is going to help you get your message crystal clear so that you can represent your brand well. And the second thing I want to invite you to do is to become a part of the Women in Podcasting Facebook group and LinkedIn group. The support and energy of all the women showing up there will encourage you in your journey. Now, here's one of the things I know about being a podcaster. You see, I launched my first podcast in April of 2021, and I did it trembling and I did it scared. It was a whole new space for me, but I felt I was inspired to do it. So I went forward. But what I know is it gets a little hard in the journey to stay with it and be consistent. And this is why, in many cases, a lot of podcasters don't go the distance. And for me, I think one of the things that makes a huge difference is really having good perspective on your why. Why are you showing up? Why are you doing it? What do you really feel your call is to be able to lift your voice to that so that you can stick with it and see it through? Now, one of the things that I talk about a lot on my podcast, Embrace Your Power, are what I call the success superpowers. I talk about them because I've developed this 5-step process that you can apply to any situation to see yourself successful. And what happens to us on our journey when we get weary is we thin and phase out. So I want to offer these 5 steps to you, and they're ones that I talk about often. I want to offer them to you so that you can begin to see where you need to shore yourself up in your own podcasting journey. So success superpower number 1 is see yourself successful. And this is so important because as we begin to see ourselves successful, we set the stage of what we can become and what we can accomplish. So I want you to set your sights high. I want you to dream real big about what your podcasting vision actually is. Who do you want to impact? Who do you want to touch? Who do you want to influence? And why do you want to reach them? And go real big with it. You see, when we were little kids, we had the ability to daydream without reason. We would not reason away. We would talk about the great things that we could accomplish. And that's what I want you to do in the context of your podcast. And when you do that, you set yourself up to become as big as what you dream. Now, success superpower number 2 is shake off fear. And fear as an emotion is not a bad thing. Fear is something that signals us to give pause and concern so that we're alerted when we need to take extra action or give extra attention. But where fear gets off course is when we start doubting and internalizing the fear to the point that it begins to stop us and we're not able to move forward. And so shake off fear is about developing good strategies so that you can keep yourself on par, on course with the work that you have committed yourself to do. Now, success superpower number 3 is real simple, and it's one that we all have done. As podcasters, we have done the work. We put the work in to show up. And that is one that we have an accountability to do. We've got to do the work. We've got to commit ourselves to getting the job done. Success superpower number 4 is take care of you. And this is probably where I see many of us not really being honorable to ourselves. We don't have a good self-care plan to take care of all aspects of who we are. One of my most recent and key revelations is that self-care is about receiving. And as women, we have a tendency to do and show up in many ways for other people that we don't fully show up in the same manner for ourselves. And so developing a self-care strategy is so important because the responsibility that goes along with showing up for your why, it's heavy. And I want to see you go the distance. So you need a plan that cares for all aspects of who you are. And then finally, success superpower number 5 is hold fast to your faith. Now, my belief system is with God, and you have your own belief system. And I'm not really here to debate belief systems, but here is what I want to make sure that you are relying on your belief system to deliver for you. You see, when I'm talking about holding fast to your faith, I am talking about when you reach those days of contradiction, when you expected things to go one way and they went another, when your results are not as great as what you hoped they would be, when you are running into obstacles, into objections, or even opinions, you've got to be able to be resolved in something that is going to help you in that moment. And for me, I believe there are 5 things that your faith should be able to deliver for you. For whatever you believe, they should be able to honor you in these ways. The first is they should be able to steady you. They should be able to make sure that you're not waffling in between all the things going on. They should be able to give you peace. You should be able to rely upon your faith to give you peace in that moment of conflict or confusion. It should be reliable. Whatever it is that you count on, you need to be able to go to it and know that it is there and will help you in that moment. It should be able to sustain you, which means the distance that you have to travel to get through the experience of the moment. It should be able to sustain you through that. And then finally, it should be able to give you hope. We've got to keep hope in place so that we can be inspired to stick with the vision and dream we have for our podcast. So I just want to share that with you. Now, if you want to go deeper and you want to learn more about the success superpowers and how I believe that they can help you, you can visit my website, which is www.successsuperpowers.live. You can get plugged in there. You can learn more about me. And obviously, that's a free resource that's available to you. Now, before I sign off today, I just want to remind you to take full advantage of all the Women in Podcasting goodies. When I think about how Jennifer shows up in the community to inspire us to not only work together, but to stick with our vision, this is exactly the support that we need in order to allow our podcast to continue to go. Now, I just want to remind you again, I will be showing up here once a month. I wanted to give you a better glimpse into me. You can learn more about me at www.denisetaylor.live. But here's what you can expect. You can expect me to always encourage you to build a life that you love, to stick with your dreams, and to go after what it is that you want to accomplish. I want you to always believe in who you are and what you can do. And you can also prepare yourself to meet some fantastic podcasters that I am going to bring to this opportunity to be able to share their message and how they serve to the communities of listeners that they have put together. Once again, I am so grateful to Jennifer for opening this door and allowing me to be a part of the Women in Podcasting family. And I look forward to seeing you next time.